Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show. My special guest today is Max Baucus, the former U.S. Ambassador to China and former U.S. Senator. Max, great having you on the show.
You betcha, Aaron. Good to see you. It's been a while. Good to see you.
I know, it's been a while. So, you've done so much, especially with, I haven't seen you since you've been, you were ambassador. I definitely want to hear about that. But, I'd like to hear just kind of your thoughts about your tenure in the U.S. Senate and how the Senate has changed.
Well, frankly, I feel exceptionally lucky to have served in the U.S. Senate. I can remember when I was out of law school, I was asking myself, Max, what really do you want to do the rest of your life? And I thought a little bit, and I thought, well, gee, I think I want to go home to Montana. I was working then in Washington, D.C., because I think I might want to run for public office, because I kind of like people, and I like Montana, and I want to really care and do something that's good for Montana and so forth. So that's what I did, and I feel very, very lucky. Montana's a great state, best in the nation. Clean air, clean water, open spaces, no better state to represent. And then I was very lucky to get great committee assignments, able to chair the Senate Finance Committee for a good number of years, best committee in the whole Congress. So I liked it. I liked it very much. I was very lucky.
And so how has it changed compared to today?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, and it's not for the better, frankly. When I started out, there were some great statesmen on both sides of the aisle. I mean, I'm thinking of, Sam Nunn, Democrat, and maybe Jack Danforth, Republican, and Dale Bumpers, another good Democrat, more of a statesman, Howard Baker, Nancy Casabon. They're really good people, thoughtful, and talked a lot, and listened to the other side and so forth. It just seemed to me that they were replaced with people who were kind of narrow, almost beady-eyed. We're not really listening. They had a mission, and it's their way, not anybody else's way, but their way. And that's kind of, I noticed that trend over time. It just seems to have gotten worse.
Is there any way to change that?
Well, that's the basic question. I ask myself that question constantly, and there's no silver bullet, or would have been changed by now. I sometimes, when I'm in a more pessimistic moment, think it has to get worse before it gets better. We're going to have to hit rock bottom. And I hope that when we do hit bottom, we bounce back up, don't just keep going through the floor. But it may have to get worse before it gets better. People have to listen more to the other side. There's not enough of that. You may ask, well, why don't they listen? Well, they don't listen as much back there, in my judgment, because they feel they don't have to, because they get all these campaign contributions, they can run all these negative ads. And unfortunately, there's too much of an incentive to get reelected than there is to, quote, do the right thing. And what's it going to take to turn that around? I've got some ideas, but it's going to take a little work.
Well, when I've had other senators, congressmen, congresswomen on the show, governors, a lot of them point to gerrymandering, which kind of sets things up. Many senators come up through Congress. Right. So you have gerrymandered congressional districts, kind of the appeal to the far right if you're a Republican, to the far left if you're a Democrat, and you end up coming to Washington kind of really where you've backed yourself into a corner, and the colleagues with you have done the same thing, and so the gap, it seems, between the two.
Well, I think there's a lot to that, because a lot of House districts these days they're very homogeneous. There aren't not a lot of diversity in the district, and so a member of Congress can just do whatever he or she wants to do, irrespective of the people back home, as long as they keep that base happy. There's no incentive to work with somebody else, because some of the member of Congress entirely different kind of a district, because he or she in a kind of a narrow district can just focus on that alone. So gerrymandering, I think, is a problem. I think there's something else too, more fundamental, and that is the internet. I think it's social media, it's texting, it's Facebook, and all of that, for a lot of subtle reasons. One is we tend to use internet texting because it's easy, and it tends to be a little negative at times. At least there's people that receive a text or an internet or a message, email, tend to don't see the full import and the personality, the warm side of the personality. People wrote it because it's just words on a screen. So it tends to be a little negative. And add to that, when you talk to somebody personally, you start to want to trust each other a little more, because when you're talking to somebody personally, it's just you want to get together a little bit better. But when it's internet, whether it's across town or across country, you're not there personally with that person, and I think that's not good. And social media is that way too. It also shortens attention spans. People flit about all their different stuff, and I'm guilty of it myself. And I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
That begs the question: if that's true, what do we do about it?
Right.
And I'm not sure I have an answer to that question.
Of course, and the anonymity that you can have
That's
on
right.
the internet as well.
That's right.
The news feeds that you
Right.
get are certainly directed by
Yeah.
your interest in particular
Yeah.
subjects or positions. So
Yeah.
everything kind of seems to push everybody to the left or to the right.
And that's true. And we tend to read people we agree with. And we communicate with people we agree with. Not so much the people we don't agree with. And it takes a lot of hard work to force yourself to listen to somebody else's point of view and to keep an open mind about it.
Right.
And force your mind to suspend judgment a little bit. Oh, gee, maybe that person's got a point there. And that's hard to do because we're so busy. And in the short term, we don't have to, so we tend less to.
I think people change their opinion today less than ever before.
That could all be, yeah.
I've had some of your former colleagues on, Al Simpson, Tim Wirth,
Yeah.
George Mitchell,
Yeah.
others. And one of the things that's really intrigued me is that they all, unsolicited and independently, would tell me similar stories about how they would fight tooth and nail with others across the aisle. At the end of the day, they might go out for a drink. They'd see somebody in the Senate gym. They might see someone on the soccer line, sidelines, when their kids were going to the same school, and they're all saying now, you leave for Washington from your district or your state as late in the week as you can, Monday, even Tuesday morning. You're there for 3 days. If you can get everything done in 3 days and there are no votes on Friday, you leave on Thursday night or Friday morning. And you're back home, you're back in the district, in Congress, you're back
That's true.
In the state. And so you're not really living in Washington, you're not raising a family in Washington, you lose all of those interactions.
That's true. It's not quite on point, but it reminds me a bit of Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy was down on the floor of the Senate and just rail for his causes, and he's a great speaker, passionate on the floor. I think, boy, this is something. And then the votes were cast, and maybe he won, maybe he didn't, but then in the conference between the House and the Senate, man, he wanted to compromise. He wanted to do deals. He wasn't as passionate in the room just to win, he was passionate to get a result. And I think that's partly for the reasons you indicated, namely, we all knew each other a little better back then. Kids, you just say soccer field and all that sort of thing. But it begs the question, why is there less of that now? That's really the question. And I tend to think a lot of it's money in politics, it's the internet, and also it's all this targeting of information by campaigns. They go right to Aaron. They know what Aaron's interests are, and so they say, "Aaron, we're doing this for Aaron. We're doing this for you," and so it forces you to be a little bit narrow, not to think about some of the broader issues that other people are facing.
Or what's best for the country.
If not for the country, at least for maybe Colorado, maybe for the West.
Or Montana,
For
right.
Montana, for a larger group of people. That's true.
Yeah. All right.
But I'm an optimist. You gotta be an optimist. We have two choices in life. Try or do nothing. That's the only choice we have. And if we answer that to try, well, then we have another question. Do we try our best or not? And obviously we try our best. And my view is I don't care how bad things look or even how good things look. You just try your best to do what you think is right in the best sense of the term. Now I know that's corny. I know that's kind of platitudinous, but that's what I do think people have to do, and they could do it. All you gotta do is try your best, whoever you may be. I remember reading Martin Luther King talking about, this was a long time ago, about, street sweepers. He says, if you're a street sweeper, you be the best street sweeper there ever existed. You be the very best. And if each person try to do the very best he or she does, and whatever she does do, that all helps with a point of view of listening and trying to talk to the other person.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to do my best when we come back with Max in just a moment.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today.
The Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harber. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harber Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the show. This is part one of our special two-part series with former U.S. Senator and U.S. Ambassador to China, Max Baucus. So Max, tell me your take on Donald Trump and the Trump administration. You know, we were just talking a lot about social media, for example, and clearly the president has mastered both social media and it seems the media as well. What's your take on that, and what's your take on his presidency so far?
In some ways, he is a genius. The way he understands the media and utilizes the media to his benefit. And he does it with very strong statements, sometimes a little outlandish. Obviously, then it gets attention. People got to cover him when he says something like that. He is the president, after all. And then with all his Twitters, or tweets, I guess they're called, many times a day, you know, and that's got to be covered. He understands television with his apprentice shows and so forth. He understands how he will be covered when he sends out all these tweets, and he therefore tends to control the media probably more than previous presidents, at least in most recent history. Having said all that, I'm quite concerned for several reasons. One is he's not known for always telling the truth. In fact, he fabricates far more than almost anybody I've ever met anywhere, anytime, whether or not he or she is president. I'll say that strongly. I don't think there's anybody who lies as much as Donald Trump does. Second, he's totally inconsistent. He'll say A one day, then B the next day, back and forth. You know, immigration, the wall, and all. You name it. There's always a subject where he's changing his mind. I think it's partly because he likes all that to get attention. I think it's partly because he really doesn't have a real moral compass as strong as most people do. I think it's because he doesn't have enough experience on issues. He's been a real estate developer. He's not steeped in public policy and no congressional, gubernatorial experience whatsoever. And the same is true with working with other countries. He just has no experience there either. Add to that, he has virtually no experience in dealing with Washington, how you get things accomplished and get things done. And I really am quite concerned. I'm trying to be very objective about this. I don't like being partisan at all. But I'm concerned that he is causing more coarseness in American society, not just in America, but he's causing other countries to think less of the United States. And as a consequence, there's going to be a void. Other countries are going to get together and do their things, and at the United States' expense. It's going to be hard to get this back. Whoever succeeds Donald Trump's going to have a huge problem on his or her hand. And it's interesting. It's what's happened in American history. It's where we are. It'd be interesting to know what historians are going to write about Donald Trump 20 years from now. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and we need a unifier to be president, not a divider, because things happen positively when people work together. They don't when people don't work together, and he's not one to bring people together. And I don't have much hope that that's going to change during his presidency. I mean, he is who he is. People are who they are. We just have to deal with it the best we can. Thank God our founding fathers, writing the Constitution, so distrusted power. They spread it out in 3 different branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. And they did a pretty good job spreading it out because each thinks the other has the power. And so we have a Congress, we have courts, we'll do okay. America is still essentially quite resilient. There's a lot of goodwill and good faith still in America. And I just hope that more people tap into that as individuals and collectively, that is the goodwill, the goodness, and the decency in America to deal with this phenomenon called Donald Trump. Now, having said all that, he has done some good things. One is he's shaken things up a little bit. One subject is China. I think to some degree we have let China get away with a lot, and Donald Trump is talking big. We'll see if he follows through, and we'll see how effective he'll be when he attempts to follow through. But at least he's shaking things up a little bit, and I think some of that's good. What
should we do with China? How should we respond? What should some of our policies be? I'll be specific as an example. China certainly has been accused of being guilty of stealing technology, of having entities, either the government agencies or operatives on behalf of the government, hack into U.S. systems, both military systems, private businesses, to steal trade secrets. China also has had a policy, and as you know, most Chinese businesses are, in one way or another, government entities or licensed by the government in a manner much different than here in the United States. There's not the kind of autonomy that businesses have here. And if you're a U.S. business and you want to do business in China, they often will require that you share your technology and your technological secrets with that company, which means, in essence, the Chinese government has access to your technology. What can we do about those kinds of situations?
I think it's important to remember 3 things. Number one, China is growing, and its economy is going to be larger than that of the United States about 10, 15 years. That's going to be a big day when that is realized. China's bigger economy than we have. Second, China is an authoritarian government. We're a democracy. Chinese approach to the world is much, much different than is the American approach to the world. China, as an authoritarian government controlled by the Communist Party, is a country that, from the party's point of view, enjoys no transparency. They don't have to say what they're doing. There's no free speech. There's virtually no independent judiciary. There's virtually no rule of law. And the government, the party, can just pursue its own goals quite efficiently. And it's cracking down a little bit on civil society, so the citizens are having a less easy time knowing what's going on in the rest of the world and a harder time organizing if they were to do so. So that's number 2. They're authoritarian and we're a democracy. You know, we Americans, as a democracy, assume everybody's like us. That's wrong. We assume that other countries pursue problems in good faith, trying to find answers in good faith. We assume that they'll approach the solution to problems with due process, with fairness. We Americans pride ourselves on fairness. That's not what China's main goal is. China cares much less about fairness. China cares much more about results, irrespective of American, Western, liberal democracy views of what's fair and what's not fair. We forget that, and we have to understand that better if we're going to know how to deal with China. And there's a third, I think, point we have to realize, and that is that China is very patient. They're very visionary. They play the long ball, and 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years out. President Xi Jinping's got this program called Made in China 2025. He wants, and it's probably by the year 2030, if not dominate, at least be extremely strong in the world in very basic new technologies. You know, what is nanotechnology, electric vehicles, and most advanced semiconductors, et cetera. We don't have a national policy. We don't think long term. We have elections every 2 years, and new people are elected. We have new presidents. We have new plans. We're ad hoc. We react. We don't have a vision. And one analogy I have is, let's say you got two football teams out in the field. One team has got players. They know who's the quarterback, who's going to carry the ball, who's and all that. They got a coach, and they got a game plan. You put another team out in the field. It's like little kids playing soccer. It's all.
You have 11 guys out there.
11 guys out there, and all running different directions. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's that bad, but I do think it's extremely important for the United States to recognize and accept those 3 points, because it's a fact. They're not going to change China. And so the question you're asking, okay, given all that, assuming we understand all that, what do we do about it? And the answer, I think, is like anything else in life. You just stand up, where you work with them. China's going to be here. We have to work with China. We're joined at the hip. We have $500-some billion trades, traded in goods and services between the United States and China. The investment is $200 or $300 billion put in every year too. I mean, it's stunning. So we're not going to go anywhere. The analogy that comes to my mind is, it's like an arranged marriage. Not a marriage based on love, but an arranged marriage. And an arranged marriage, I don't care if we're a man and a wife, man and woman, two guys married, two women married, it's irrelevant. It's a marriage. But it's a marriage where there's no divorce. We can't get a divorce. We're here. And if you're in an arranged marriage, not based on love, but put together by forces of the world, economic macro forces, and just who knows what, we have to work with China and to find a solution here.
All right. Well, some arranged marriages work, so I'll be optimistic. We'll be right back to wrap up with Max in just a moment.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
The Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harber. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harber Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
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 I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch The Aaron Harber Show and keep hope alive.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to Aaron at harbertv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbertv.com.
Welcome back to the show. This is our final segment, but in part one of our two-part series, so make sure you watch part two as well. So Max, what was a typical day? When you were U.S. Ambassador to China, was there a typical day?
I loved the job. It was just tremendous. And I liked it really for two reasons. Number one, the Chinese people. Energetic, enthusiastic, practical, competitive, want to get results, get things done, and it's infectious. And I think Chinese people are more optimistic about their future than Americans are about ours. Number two, it's so rewarding working on the relationship as U.S.-China, because we're so joined together. We have to work well together for the sake of our kids and grandkids. And the more we understand each other and work together, two totally different cultures and forms of government, the better off we're going to be, and I love that.
What do the Chinese people not know about the United States that you wish they knew?
First of all, they like America. The people like America. We issue about 3 million tourist visas a year, 300,000 student visas a year. And it's parks, it's wide open spaces, it's Yellowstone, it's Glacier, it's Yosemite, it's also like Las Vegas, Disneyland's and all that. That's what they really like. But don't they like?
I've been at both in the last 12 months.
Inundated.
Yeah, so I can confirm your comment.
A lot of people, right? I'm sure that's true. What don't they know? I think it's essentially they don't know how we really want to work with the Chinese people. We want to work with China. We're not people with have horns sticking out of our head. We're not out there to take over China. And that's a big issue because the Chinese government plays on Chinese nationalism with all those Americans. They want to contain us. They want to subjugate us. They want to knock us down. That's why they got the 7th Fleet on our shores. That's why they don't want us to develop our new technologies. They want to contain us. They want to stop us. And unfortunately, there's a little that's true in government policy today, but it's not true with respect to American people. American people do like Chinese. They want to work with Chinese people. And I think the Chinese need to know that.
What is the state of being an ambassador today like compared to 10 years ago or 20 years ago, especially in regard to security? I'm amazed at how little U.S. ambassadors get paid.
That's true. We get paid in the psychic group value.
Psychic benefits?
Psychic benefit, yeah.
Yeah, and you also, I thought that you had this unlimited social budget that you could entertain and get people to know America better. And then I find out, no, you've got to find resources on your own. Was that not, that couldn't be true when you were in China, or was that true?
Yeah, a little of that. I mean, it's if you're named ambassador to some big fancy country with lots of entertaining, like London, Rome, or Madrid, or Paris, you've got to have a big personal budget.
Because you're paying for the parties.
You're paying for all the parties. Now, the government does come back and reimburse you for part of it. And China is not a country with a lot of partying. Things are kind of serious in China. They're working hard and that kind of thing.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time.
But I want to say more.
Well, you'll get to in part two. So we'll be back with Max in part two. I'm Aaron Harber. Thanks for watching.
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.